right. Today, we're going to tackle something that honestly cuts right to the core of how we all live our lives. We are going to tear apart one of our most fundamental beliefs, the need for hope. And we're going to explore why that constant search for happiness might actually be the very thing making us miserable. I know, it's a huge idea, so let's just dive right into the uncomfortable truth at the heart of it all. It starts right here with what it calls the uncomfortable truth. Now look, this isn't meant to be depressing, it's just the starting point. It's the stark reality that our minds build entire worlds just to avoid. We invent purpose, we imagine our own importance, all because we have to. We need to have hope. And that very need for hope, well, that brings us to this huge contradiction in modern life. I mean, think about it. By almost every single objective measure, we are the safest, wealthiest, and most prosperous humans in the history of the world. And yet, we're facing a crisis of anxiety, depression, and just hopelessness. What on earth is going on here? To get this paradox, you first have to understand what hope even is. Think of it like the fuel for your mind's engine. If you don't believe that the future can somehow be better than the present, your whole mental engine just stalls out. The true opposite of happiness isn't sadness or anger, it's hopelessness. It's just that endless gray horizon where nothing matters. So this is the big question we're digging into. Why is it that as our external world gets better and better, our internal world seems to be falling apart? Well, it turns out the answer lies deep inside the strange and frankly counterintuitive wiring of our own brains. Okay, so let's pull back the curtain and peek under the hood of our own minds. There are two key ideas here that explain why we get so incredibly stuck. A really vicious cycle called the feedback loop from hell, and a powerful metaphor known as the consciousness car. You have definitely felt this. I know I have. You get anxious about something, and then you immediately start judging yourself. Ugh, why am I so anxious? I shouldn't feel this way. And boom, now you're anxious about being anxious. Our whole culture tells us that bad feelings are a problem we need to fix, so we pile this layer of shame and judgment right on top of our original pain, creating this awful spiraling loop. And this leads to this wild, kind of backwards idea called, fittingly, the backwards law. It goes like this. Wanting a positive experience is in itself a negative experience. But, and here's the paradox, accepting a negative experience is actually a positive experience. Constantly chasing happiness only reminds you over and over that you don't have it, which just makes you feel worse. Now, let's talk about that consciousness car. Most of us walk around assuming our rational, logical, thinking brain is in the driver's seat. You know, it's the responsible adult, making all the smart, calculated decisions, while our emotions are just kind of the noisy passenger in the back. But the reality is the complete opposite. Your feeling brain, it has the keys, its foot is on the gas, and its hands are on the steering wheel. Emotion is what actually moves us to do anything. Every single problem of self-control, procrastination, laziness, you name it, it's not a failure of logic, it's a problem of emotion. You don't do the thing you should do because you just don't feel like it. Okay, so our feeling brain is at the wheel, and our culture is screaming at it to just chase happiness at all costs. Let's really get into why this is a fundamentally flawed strategy that is pretty much destined to fail. This brings us to this fascinating psychological quirk called the blue dot effect. So, imagine an experiment where people were told to identify blue dots on a screen. Researchers found that as they showed them fewer and fewer actual blue dots, people's minds started seeing purple dots as blue. Their brains literally expanded the definition of blue to find the number of threats it expected to find. And that right there, that perfectly illustrates the paradox of progress. The exact same thing happens with threats and problems in our lives. As our world gets safer and has fewer real dangers, our minds just expand the definition of what a threat is. We start turning molehills into mountains. Our perception of problems rises to meet some baseline level of anxiety, no matter how good things actually get. So here's the crucial point. Pain is not a bug in the system. It's a feature. It's the baseline. It's this thread that's woven into the very fabric of life. Happiness and joy, they aren't some destination you arrive at. They are simply the temporary moments when that constant pain is removed, or maybe just forgotten for a little while. There's this really powerful metaphor from Buddhism that explains this perfectly. The first arrow is the actual objective pain of life. You know, a setback, an insult, a loss. This arrow is completely unavoidable. Life is always going to shoot these at you. But then there's the second arrow, And this one, well, this is the one we shoot at ourselves. It's the story we add on top of the pain. This is awful. Why is this happening to me? This shouldn't be happening. That is where real suffering comes from. So while pain is inevitable, suffering, the source argues, is always a choice. Okay, so if chasing happiness is a trap, and if hoping for a better future can actually make things worse, then what are we supposed to do? Well, let's explore a different, more powerful path, one that actually finds freedom in limitation. This is where a big idea from the philosopher Immanuel Kant comes in. To put it simply, he argued that people aren't tools. Our most basic duty is to treat ourselves and to treat others as inherently valuable, not as a means to get something else, whether that's money or status or even just a fleeting feeling of happiness. And that idea completely flips our modern definition of freedom on its head. See, we think freedom is having endless options, hundreds of TV shows, infinite dating profiles. The source calls this fake freedom. Real freedom, it argues, comes from self-limitation, from consciously choosing what you are willing to sacrifice and commit yourself to. I mean, just look at the difference here. That fake freedom, all that variety, gives you diminishing returns. The more choices you get, the less satisfying each one is. But real freedom, the kind you get through commitment and self-limitation, that has increasing returns. The discipline of exercise gives you the freedom of a healthy body. The commitment to a relationship gives you the freedom of deep intimacy. So let's bring all of these different threads together into one simple but really powerful call to action. Instead of constantly looking outside yourself for hope, waiting for the world to change so that then you can finally feel good, the central challenge here is to simply stop. Don't hope. The focus shifts completely. You take it away from some desired outcome in the future, and you put it squarely on your actions in this very moment. Don't hope for better. Be better. And look, this isn't some vague, feel-good platitude. This is a list of real virtues you can practice right now, no matter what your circumstances are. You can choose to be more compassionate with yourself. You can practice being more resilient when you face a small setback. You can actually embody these qualities without needing any hope for some future reward. And all of this brings us to the final and most critical question. If pain is the universal constant of life, if it's the one thing you absolutely can't avoid, then the most important choice you have isn't if you will suffer, but what you will choose to suffer for. Because living a good life doesn't mean avoiding pain. It means choosing pain that is worthy of you.